Marxists and communists are indoctrinated puppets of the state. I'm going to explain this, and I'm also going to explain what I even mean by indoctrination. Because frankly, let's be honest, both the left and the right like to throw this term around willy-nilly. They just use this term against those they disagree with without giving it any clear thought as to what it actually means when it actually applies, which it can and does to both sides, but also to the leftist, Marxist, and communists we see today, which is what this video is focusing on. And it's ironic because, frankly, they're calling themselves anti-establishment when these ideas that they have originated from the establishment. You can't call yourself or view yourself as revolutionary or deconstructing a corrupt system when that exact corrupt system is telling you what to do and you are following it. But how can I say these are establishment ideas? Well, the reason why I can say this is because they are often exposed to these radical ideas through educational institutions, more specifically public schools and state universities, both of which are funded through taxpayer money, where the curriculums are overseen and controlled by the government. The government controls what they teach and what they do not teach. And it just so happens that they're often taught through things like sociology to be active in combat inequality. And of course, the way they're taught to remove this inequality, this oppression that is happening on the people, the working class, the minorities, is by giving more power and control to the government over the people. That we assume happens through discrimination and malice intent against those individuals, which they can never really prove. But I want to address something. This is a pet peeve of mine that actually comes from the right. They come up with many flawed arguments that are very shallow, and it usually goes down like this.
Colleges and universities are corrupt and wrong because when my friends go into them, they become left-wing Marxists, so college is a bad place.
The issue with this is it lacks substance, and it can be easily refuted by anybody.
I mean, do you think that 2 + 2 = 4 is also indoctrination or leftist propaganda? Maybe it isn't propaganda. Maybe instead this is how the world truly is, and you don't like it because your political opinions are getting in your way.
You see what I mean? It's not hard to refute this bad talking points that I just hear regurgitated commonly by people on the right. This is why so many people on the left view those who are on the right as uneducated for holding these views. You just do such a poor job at understanding them and explaining why they are true. I mean, don't get me wrong, you are correct, but you're just doing a horrible job at explaining why you're correct. The simple truth of the matter is universities teach many objectively true things like chemistry, but they also teach many subjective things that are not objective whatsoever, such as literature, philosophy, the social sciences like sociology, and even history, as crazy as that sounds. The reason being is it's not that historical events are subjective. If one group kills millions of another group, that's an objective fact, that is history. But the writing and reporting of these events can be extremely skewed. You can omit information and paint a desired narrative, depending on whatever it is you want. For example, I could tell one story, the story of these European colonizers that came into America and just killed and slaughtered the Native Americans. This is factually true and this happened. But I could also paint another story where the European Americans come into this nation that is filled with conflict and war and strife between these local tribes that already existed there. And the Europeans entered an existing war, an existing power struggle between these people, and won. Now, are either of these narratives fully true? No, they're missing a lot of key points, and history is much more complex than one side being good or the other side being bad. But again, if you're writing these history books, you can paint a biased narrative depending on what information you omit out, making many of them subjective views on historical events. I mean, I'm just shocked at the fact that how many people that go to universities and colleges who are deemed educated are totally unaware of the horrible things the tribal nations in America did to people, which is why I would label history, at least as it is today, with how biased and corrupt it is, as something that is subjective. Because the reporting of this information is skewed and flawed. Even though history doesn't care about what side you are on, it only cares about the historical events that went down. This isn't even touching on things like sociology, where a large portion of it is simply statistical data, and frankly, very interesting concepts that they're teaching. But a large portion of it is just left-wing propaganda. You can't go 15 minutes into this lecture without him quoting Marx.
I have to link up with people who are in a way in the same predicament I am. And we have to become agents for change. We have to organize We have to be together. Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains, as Marx said. Or gays of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your
Again, this is not objective 2 + 2 = 4, and presenting this subjective study as an objective field is extremely deadly. The idea that just because they teach it, it must be a fact is completely nonsensical. And if you have discussed this with any of them, whenever you disagree with a narrative or an idea that is commonly pushed and taught in public schools or public universities, they'll say,
"Didn't you learn these things in school or college? It was taught there, so it must be true and just a commonly accepted fact."
To easily deconstruct this, let's follow this idea to its absurd conclusion. Imagine we're having this exact same conversation in Germany during the 1930s or the 1940s, and you present the arguments that Jews and Germans are equal. What would the rebuttal of the time commonly have been? They would have pointed to their own academia and their own science to prove the idea that the Aryan race is superior to others. You see why this argument is invalid. Just because an academic institution is teaching something doesn't make it free from any critique or disagreements.
But the Germans in the 1930s were not as educated as we are today. They were just insane and crazy, nothing more.
I mean, by no means am I defending the Nazis or what horrible things they did. But again, this argument falls flat on its face. They were so smart, they were so advanced. Recall Operation Paperclip. Right after the war, the United States and the Soviet Union sought to recruit the German scientists. These were not uneducated or stupid people, which shows just because those who are deemed educated believe something doesn't make it true or free from critique. But I want to clarify, holding a certain position or belief doesn't make you indoctrinated. I'm not calling all communists or Marxists indoctrinated. Rather, those who are exposed to simply one viewpoint, which could be right-wing or left-wing, who do not understand the flaws on their own side or what the other side gets correct. Which is especially true in why many of these communists, these Marxists, many of the people on the left are indoctrinated by the states. They are presented this one idea without the presentation of other sides or other perspectives. Which is why I can say many, if not most of these young Marxists who just graduate from universities or colleges are state indoctrinated. I mean, there was even a study that showed that 2% of sociologists identified as conservative, while 25% of them identified as self-proclaimed Marxists. You're not going to get an even, unbiased perspective when the numbers are so skewed, which causes them to not understand right-wing viewpoints in depth. It takes more than being raised in a conservative family to understand right-wing ideologies in depth.
Man, what was the last place? Like the ideological leanings of like professors and stuff. It's like 85% left, and like even some of the econ departments. I don't know if it's true here for University of Texas.
But is that a problem?
If you're getting this huge slant in a certain direction, the question is like, well, are all
well, how do you know that partisan slant?
The question is, are all of these people, do they just happen to be left-leaning, or is there like a culture that's kind of developing that encourages only left-leaning people to participate, or people that aren't left-leaning to kind of like hush their opinion a bit?
You say, is there a culture? No. I think you firmly decided that.
Well, because there obviously
definitely
is
a culture.
There obviously is a culture.
There is this liberal orthodoxy that's being enforced within academia or whatever.
Progressive orthodoxy.
Oh, okay. Aren't you a progressive yourself?
Yes. But I don't enforce the progressive orthodoxy. That's why I'm here at the University of Texas talking to kids. There probably would be some, but I think that over half of like progressives would be in favor of like viciously getting rid of like certain types of thoughts that they feel like don't belong on college campuses at all.
Like what types of thoughts?
Like
and how would you even like eliminate these thoughts? How would these progressives
Well, you do it through
on
social
campus,
culture pressure, right?
And are they not allowed to do that?
I don't think they should on college campuses, no.
Which is why you probably will hear so many people who say I was right-wing, but then I shifted my viewpoints to the left. I mean, no wonder. You never understood the right's viewpoints to begin with. Of course, anybody logically would shift viewpoints after being exposed to left-wing ideologies in depth without clarity on what the right actually even stands for or why they stand for it. And from this, I challenge everybody watching this video, right-wing, left-wing, communist, whatever, to educate yourself and understand the other side in depth. I'm currently doing the same actually, which is what sparked this video for me. And anyways, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe or watch one of my previous videos. As of that, I hope you have a good one. And if you disagree with me, leave a comment and just tell me why I'm wrong.